Hey guys, I finally made it back. Here's my second episode, and basically it's about my mindset and where I'm coming from and how that possibly enabled the brainwashing to take place. But anyway, I'm just going to give you my background and then we're going to dive into the brainwashing on my very next one, and I'm hoping to get that out tomorrow. So when I was little, I was almost an only child. My nearest sibling was 9 years older than me, and my oldest sibling was 12 years older than me. So basically, I was like a kid in a house full of adults. Well, not a house full, but when the whole family got together, cousins and aunts and uncles, I was the baby. So I was basically eavesdropping. I was kind of like the fly on the wall that nobody really paid attention to when everybody's sitting around having adult conversations. And I didn't quite understand all that, what they were talking about. I didn't know what the words meant, but I could tell facial cues and stuff like that. So I was very, very observant, is my point of that. I watched people. I watched my family. I watched, oh, he looks like he's upset about that, or oh, she looks like she's getting ready to laugh, or whatever. So I'm very good with the facial cue thing. And I'm very curious. That is my biggest thing. I want to know why, what, when, how, where. Um, I'm very curious, and it's to the point where I can be invasive and not realize it. I don't stop. Oh, well, what about this? I'll just blurt it out and go, oh, wait, that's too much, right? Um, so anyway, that's my curiosity, and it was sparked because I was a little child and kind of alone, basically. I had a wonderful childhood. We had a blast. Everybody on the street was so much fun to hang out with. When I was little, riding our bikes around, and we used to catch minnows in the canals, which was crazy because we weren't doing anything with them other than leaving them in the bucket to die. But anyway, we had a good time, and I still remain friends with some of them to this day. So that was a good bond. Everything was great until my mom died. I was a month away from being 15, and she died a week before Christmas. I mean, this is the whole thing, and a month before our shared birthday. So that probably started my depression. I shouldn't say my depression because I don't own it anymore. It's gone, but it was a complete change. And all of a sudden I'm in the house alone with my dad, who was the only thing Dad and I ever did. Well, we hung out together. I was his little helper. Hanging out is what I call that. But, I was stuck in this massive house with my dad. And I didn't know he was the Terminator. The only reason I ever had to talk to my dad or ask permission was if it was sketchy. And then, if it was a little sketchy, of course you wouldn't be able to do it. But Dad was always the one, like, you know, like if I got in trouble when I was little, if I got in trouble, he was the Terminator, and he would give me a not a bad whooping, but a belt slap or two. And so I straightened out right away. That was in first or second grade, I believe. Um, so yeah, it was kind of, I wasn't really afraid of my dad because we always had fun and we loved going to sports games and baseball games particularly. Um, you know, it was good. And when I was little, I also loved music. I had a little red transistor radio that had a strap on it, and I took it everywhere, literally everywhere. And they took 9-volt batteries. Um, but I loved listening to music, and I didn't listen to country. My parents did, and I did when I was little. But when I got maybe 10, I started listening to adult rock and roll, basically. And of course, couldn't really hear the words all that great because it was a transistor radio. So I'm singing along to all these songs, and I have no idea what I'm saying or what they're saying, but I'm just doing something. I got really hooked on music, and that was a lifelong love of mine, which I'm finding out now was probably a bad thing. And we'll get into that one day. When I was little, the people across the street from me, I'm not going to give out their name. They know who they are. But I was basically had 4 kids, and I was basically their fifth wheel, especially after mom died. But even before that, hey, we're going to go here. You want to go? Or I'd just ask, can I go too? And of course, they always said yes, or almost always. But we had a really good time, and I really miss those days of being a teenager and growing up. Although, knowing what I know now, I'm probably much happier than I was the day I graduated high school, because I was very depressed when my mom died. So when my best friend got married, we kind of drifted apart, and I moved away. I moved to another state. I found new friends, and of course, not of course, but my friends smoked weed. So I smoked weed, and I loved it. It helped my depression. I felt happy. I felt relieved. I didn't feel upset or uptight. I loved it, and I still do when I can afford it. Anyway, I got pregnant and I got married, and my son passed away when he was a week old. And I don't want to say why. And if you want to talk to me privately, I have no problem. So I just don't want to put it out there because I don't want to hurt anybody. But anyway, we got a divorce about a year and a half after that. So and then the next one was I met my second son's father, and we broke up 4 years after that. And then I met another one, the last one, and we've been broken up since 98. And he cheated on me hard. So, not just with women, it was, playboys and hustlers and stuff like that. It was just disgusting. So now my son that survived from my second, I was never married to him because I knew it wasn't going to last. I was just very irresponsible, and I got pregnant. This affected him horribly, and he didn't have a father. His school told me that he was his grades kind of sucked, and that he was doing poorly. He wasn't really paying attention in class, and he had ADD. And they told me that I needed to put him on, what is it, Adderall? I can't remember the stuff he was only on it for like a month. I don't even know if it was a month. He said it made him feel weird. So I said, fine, get rid of it, because I didn't like doing that anyway. And then I had to go in and have a meeting with the principal and tell him why I took him off. And I mean, it's just ridiculous, the control they have over us. So anyway, he didn't really have a father. His regular father just disappeared because he didn't want to pay child support. But his, stepfather, temporary stepfather, was really a good man, even though he cheated on me. He was a good, solid person. And when we broke up, my son basically became delinquent. And he ended up, and I think it was a building or something, him and some friends of his destroyed. It was an abandoned building. And he went to prison for all the damage to that building. They did a lot of damage. And he still has issues. And I still have issues with him. Because he's bitter at me, and I don't blame him. It was horrible. So anyway, that. And then I had a very stressful career in accounting. If you know anything about accounting, you know that it's very, very time. You have deadlines, and they're drop deadlines. And, when somebody else doesn't do their job so you can do yours, it's really awful. And, end of every month is a complete stress ball for 3 days until you get it done. And depending on the company, can move on to the next month. And then it's just the whole thing over again. But even daily, there's deadlines. You have to get this done every single day. So these people can do this and this and this. Right. So anyway, that was really awful. And when I went home at night, this is after I broke up from the last one. And I would be so stressed out. Just personalities at work can make you stressed out. But then you add the emergencies that happen every single day in accounting. It just, you go home and you just want to tune out. You don't want to have to deal with your child. You don't want to have to fix dinner. There's all, you just want to peel off your nylons and your suit and, curl up in a ball. But, I was a soccer mom. And so I had a lot on my plate for someone who had major depression. But I did it. And the reason I did it is because I grew up in the women's lib age where, like Gloria Steinem and some of these others. And I'm going to pull some music that affected me, that all about women's lib. And then when I got older, that's early. When I got older and had broken up and it was just me and my son, I used to tape Oprah. Because I didn't have anybody guiding me. Nobody told me anything about anything. I just was flying by the seat of my pants, and I still am in many ways. But yeah, so it was really a bad situation. And anyway, so I would tape Oprah, and that was I would send my son out, go play. I need to watch this. And I would watch that for an hour before dinner and listen to Oprah tell me how women can do anything and you just have to do it. That's all you got to do is just do it. Well, I was doing it, but it wasn't working for me. I didn't feel right. I was getting worse. The depression was getting worse. And, things just didn't feel right, and it didn't feel like I could do it. So I thought, well, there's something wrong with me. So then I start beating myself up and pushing and pushing and pushing. And, eventually I just collapsed. This is after I moved to Phoenix. I basically collapsed and I lost everything I owned because I was drinking at a bar with a close relative who drank at the bar. I moved here to be with that person and it didn't go well. So anyway, after, I lost all my possessions and my relationships, And I basically lost my whole spirit. But then God showed up. I'm very thankful for that. And I don't go to church. I don't like denominations, because they all have there's like 32 or 33,000 Christian denominations, and they're all different, and they all tell you something different. So the way I found God was I turned TBN on one day and I found Joyce Meyer, and it was more of a self-help. She wasn't really preaching. She was using the Bible as self-help, and it did help me a lot. And I would take note. I bet you I took notes for 4 years at least every word she'd say. And I'd be scribbling, watching the TV. And anyway, it did help, but then it got to be, I was feeling she was a little sketchy when I found out about her money and all that stuff. And I really have a hard time trusting a pastor who is in it for the money, obviously in it for the money. So I quit watching TBN because that's basically all of them, almost all of them. Although I did go back and watch Pastor Hagee. I like him a lot. John Hagee from, I can't remember the name of the church now. But yeah, so I still watched him. And then I got on this journey. And I really got on the journey when the internet came, when you could, on your phone, just because I always had, the curiosity. I always have questions. Sometimes I'd just write them down and go home and look them up, see what I could figure out about it. But it's when smartphones came, I was all in. I couldn't get enough, and I've been looking for truth ever since. And I think iPhone. Well, I didn't have an iPhone. I got my first cell phone or smartphone in 2013, I believe. So then we watched the Obama crap, and then the whole debacle with the 2016 election with Hillary, and all the attacks on Trump. I didn't like him. I was going to vote for Ben Carson, but he didn't make it out of the primary. So I knew businessmen, and I knew most of them to be very good people and honest people that sometimes don't even cash their own paychecks because they want to make sure the payroll clears for the guys, or whoever. Hang on a second. I need to pause. Anyway, the gist of this is that I was a very confused, kind of damaged child. Oh, also, I forgot about the worst part. When I was little, a family member tried to pedo me, and it was a cousin, so it wasn't in my household. And then when I was probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, I started going to the skating rink. And when I was 13, I noticed my friends were working behind the snack bar. I'm like, well, that was the bonus. You got free skating. So I wanted to do that. Well, little did I know, the guy that owned the skating rink was a pedo. And I was developing because I was 13. And I mean, right out of the gate, I've had big boobs, and it's cursed. Don't wish for big boobs because it's not worth it. You don't want that kind of attention because it's not the attention that's going to love you and protect you and keep you whole. Right? So anyway, I got a lot of unwanted attention from this man, and he would walk up behind me in behind the snack bar and try to wrap his arms underneath my breasts. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Is he going to touch me? What is this? And, I would just try to get away and move on, and, which always worked, but there was always the next time you had to go to the snack bar, and he didn't do it every time. It depended on how many people were looking, or if his wife was there. Uh, so anyway, I had a very, very bad opinion of men. Not men, sex. I thought it was nasty because I was pedoed. There was no penetration or anything like that. It was touching and trying to get close to you, and it just was creepy. So, and then in, junior high, the only attention I got was because of my boobs. So I'm like, whatever. I'm not into this. But I did have crushes on boys. I just didn't act on it. And I didn't, I just sat around and waited for somebody to pick me, and nobody picked me. And that's what happened. So I've always had a crappy sex life because I'm not completely comfortable with it. And it's not the action, it's the person, right? My first two were schleps. I mean, they worked, they had good jobs, but they drank, and both of them were angry drunks. So that was it for me. I can't do that. I was never a drinker. My family didn't drink. I just grew up pretty, pure, I guess. Not, as far as drugs and alcohol went, I never started that until I was like 19. And I never drank. I never drank until I got here, and that's what threw everything in the shithole for me. I lost everything, literally everything I had. I have a few things that I was able to put in my car and drive off with. And then I even lost my car because I couldn't pay for it. So yeah, all kinds of bad things happen. And I think most of that is because of the pedoism, because of the other bad stuff, like my mom dying. That was very devastating because I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know she was going to die either. Nobody told me she's going to die. And that's a pattern in my family because I'm the baby. They think I can't handle it, so I don't know what the deal is there. Whatever. I don't really care. So yeah, it's really hard talking about myself and giving personal stuff out. But you need to know that where my mind frame is. And the main things you need to remember about me is my curiosity, my relentlessness, and my need for fact. I have a desperate need for facts. So I think a lot of us are in the same boat right now. And I'm just going to go through my life and show you how certain things, and I'm going to show you those things and why they affected me and what was that purpose for me, that even being in front of my face to see. Because we all know our government lies through their frickin' teeth, and they are definitely trying to control how we think about things and how we act, especially. That's the key. That's their goal, is to control our actions. And I'm just not one to put up with that. So I can't. I am a free person. I've always been free to do whatever the hell I wanted. Didn't always end well, but we have freedoms here. We can say whatever the hell we want, whether you like it or not. I have the right to say it, but they're taking that away because I'm on the wrong side of the aisle, right? So there's something going on. We all know the brainwashing's going on. Well, most of my friends do. I shouldn't say we all, because some of you probably don't. But I want to make sure you understand it, and I want to show you examples of that, so we can stop it. Don't let it affect you. because it's going to be a while before. Thanks, Odie, for rattling the table. It's going to be a while before we can fix our government. It's not going to happen with Trump. It will start with Trump, but it won't be done by the time Trump leaves. And God willing, he gets in. And I have a feeling we're in for something more, some other, attack on him. Hi, baby. I gotta quit saying all the time. Sorry about that, guys. And then I'm gonna replace it with so. Anyway, that's the goal. And tomorrow I've already got my first show set up, like actual show of showing you examples. I've got everything out there clipped, or the tabs up, and I just need to put it in order. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day. Thank you, Odie. I love you too. I do so much. You're so demanding. So yeah, hopefully I can get that up. I'm not going to say tomorrow. I'm going to say probably Thursday, which would be July 24th, I believe. So in a couple days, just look for it. So anyway, that's the end of this one. And that was a hard one to get through. The next one's going to be easy and fun. So I hope you join me, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to bring back some memories for us old folks, and, kind of cringe memories. Sorry, especially for the guys, it's going to be cringy. So, anyway, be prepared, and I will see you next time. All right. God bless you all. Take care.